Good morning, everybody. My name is Stacy. I'm a mental health coach with Pop Recovery Systems, and I help people with addictions, and that's primarily with food addiction or obesity. But training people on how to get what they want instead of focusing on what they don't want. But sometimes we have to do the breakdown, of things because we oftentimes are trying to create from what we don't want, and it's hard to create a positive with two negatives. So, for us to be able to run our lives and be in harmony, we have to combine the negative and the positive. That means looking at those negative things instead of hiding them, defending them, and everything else. So, as this has been the month of love, February, some people may have felt broken. They're brokenhearted. Their hopes of what they thought love was. Then they're dealing with grief, and that's a whole other ball game. But today we're going to be talking about feeling broken or fragmented. Again, as a mental health coach, I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, so I'm sharing, with you from my own experiences, okay? And so I just wanted to have that disclaimer and that clarity there. But I'm very fortunate that I get to work with a lot of people who've had some of the same experiences that I have had. So, I've worked with addiction and identified myself with 27 years experience clean and sober. But, it started with food, it went to drugs, it went to love addiction. Love addiction is an addiction too. And I just dealt with somebody over the weekend who had that kind of addiction. Trying to get something from somebody else and give them something they don't have themselves, so this is a problem. Also, it come down also to alcohol. I was trying to be normal as I kept trying to get things outside of myself to make me feel normal, a family, children, all these other things, but I still didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. So anyway, I'm going to talk about the background a little bit. When we come from addictive backgrounds, we may be fragmented. And what this means is that when you were playing as a child or you tried to be a child, maybe you were playing and all of a sudden you got yanked up when the brawl broke out, or what have you. And I'm from Texas, so I'm talking about when the brawl broke out. Or, so your central nervous system was interrupted. As a child, we're breathing deep from the bottom of our stomach. And then as we get older, our central nervous system keeps getting interrupted. And so that's an unconscious. That goes on our default mechanism. And so sometimes we keep creating from that default mechanism, which may leave us feeling broken. I know I have felt broken before. But the thing is that brokenness means that, like, if something breaks and you can't put it back together. So a lot of times people will say, well, my picker is broken, again, talking about Valentine's Day. So some people choose to be isolated and alone, like we do with broken things, right? Maybe we'll get it fixed later, maybe not. But in a fragment, usually people want to fix the fragment. It's just a crack, and there was this beautiful bowl, that it's a little Asian bowl. I forget what it's called right now, and I'm just trying to give you and they fill it in with gold. You can put in the comments what kind of bowl that is, because I'm just not going to sit here and think about it right now. But it's filled with gold, and that's the way you can be once you recognize your fragmentation and are able to get to the other side of it. But a lot of times people think this is their reality and this is their life when they're running on high alert from their central nervous system. Because those interruptions were the fragmentations. A lot of people associate it with ADD or ADHD, and I'm not saying that I do not diagnose people. You technically really could have ADD or ADHD. Being fragmented doesn't help any of that, though, and it may promote some of that. So, how many of you were in school and thinking about the problems at home, and these kind of things at certain times? I myself, I used to get told I ran like hot and cold water. So these things that influence us and convict us of our brokenness are these things that we hear from our family, that we hear from our teachers, that we hear from our peers, that we hear from our siblings, So sometimes we allow that stuff to identify us, and we may decide I'm identified as broken. But when we realize that fragmented, that we are the ones who are responsible for fixing ourselves, that's more empowering. So being fragmented is a deeper understanding of pain and its origin, accepting there is a crack somewhere, but not a destiny to stay permanently. For a lot of us, there's a spiritual solution. Maybe the prior calls for a mental solution, being broken. So, because sometimes there really are chemical imbalances. So, that's not something I deal with. So, but the fragmentation I'm able to help with is all that I'm saying. So sometimes things just may not make sense. And so that's what's helpful about having support or having a therapist or having a coach, is that I know for myself, I used to try to rationalize and justify some things that just didn't make sense. Those things happened outside of me, and that was part of my fragmentation too, is that I would be trying to make sense out of things that didn't make sense. And that's where rationalization and justification is born, you know. So there are many things that cause that fragmentation. The mixed messages also, you know, because sometimes we're told one thing and it depends on, there's a transference of anger when we're children. And sometimes that's when our parents feel inferior, that we're getting on their nerves and things like this. And so we get that transference of anger. So what that does is it sets us up for unreasonable expectations when we get these mixed messages, because that fragment is in constant change and it will seem like we just can't catch up. It will make us feel ignorant or crazy, you know. And so, like I said, that can happen with anybody. It may happen in adulthood, but it seems like we just get interrupted, and that's what causes the fragmentation. So, you know, right now we're dealing energetically with this in the United States with all the changes going on with the new presidency. So some people are feeling fragmented, like they're waiting for the other shoe to fall. They're waiting for the other shoe to fall. This is what I'm hearing, you know, is that many people, friends and clients, you know, are afraid of what's going to happen next, So they're like breathing, they're not being in their reality. They're depending on something outside of themselves, that fear, to build their reality. This too is part of being fragmented, is using fear to build your reality. So being broken or fragmented interrupts your central nervous system, like I said, that breathing. And this is in long version, it can affect your health. When you don't breathe, we all have these cells. Cells need oxygen, and you get your oxygen to your cells by breathing. The oxygen will get to your cells by breathing, but it also helps your brain to work better, to be in the present moment instead of being fragmented or broken from the past, or feeling fragmented or broken from the past. It helps you to create in the present what you do want to create instead of what you don't want to create, as we said in the beginning of this video. But like I said, you have your system, your body is made up so magnificently. You have these ganglia chains. This is also your glands. Some of these toxic thoughts that we may have had from toxic growing up or what have you. Maybe it wasn't toxic growing up. Maybe it was toxic adulthood. But these things, we always are releasing chemicals based on our thoughts and our feelings and our mindset. You know, what we see, feel, taste, touch, and hear, or our objective senses, and we think that that's our present reality. And it is, but we need to be in the present reality through the breath. So when you're breathing, you're going to slow down these hormones, these excretions, these chemicals that are released within your body system, because these chemicals go through your glands. Where do you think that this trauma goes to? When in some of this trauma, we're traumatizing ourselves over and over again, with our central nervous system being on high alert and having that expectation. When really, in the reality, right now, when we slow it down, everything is fine. So, when this stuff releases down your glands, you know, it will be healthier. If you can visualize better things happening, and better things happening might just be visualizing that stuff that's stuck in the back of your mind from those old files, those old tapes, as it processes down your neck, through your glands, down your glands in the front side, but on the back side, down those ganglia chains, because that's your autonomic and cerebrospinal chains. And the autonomic is your automatic. This is your survival skills based on those traumas from the past. I'm sorry about that. These are the things that, you know, based on the traumas from the past that feed into that chemicals in your body. You know, so you will automatically react based on those things. Have you heard something sometimes and that wasn't actually what the person was saying? That's from your autonomic system. Seen something and that actually wasn't what you were seeing, but it comes from the back of your mind and your past and your expectations. So that goes down the automatic part. That's your reaction to these things. And then we feel silly when we react to those things. When you breathe in your frontal lobe, you can respond to things rather than react. This also slows down that central nervous system, slows down those chemicals, those hormones, those things releasing. Then you get in control of your feelings. because then this is where a lot of anxiety comes from too, is when you relive a past experience through that central nervous system being on high alert. So when we breathe, we're able to get in the present moment. When you sense fear, or you're hypervigilant, you're strategizing. You don't have to strategize and be on high alert all the time. Is it helping you? Because sometimes this stuff seems like it just keeps happening over and over. Because your cerebral spinal chain is how this stuff manifests in your body. I've talked about how your thoughts are expressed through your words. Your feelings are expressed through your body language. So, and your posture and everything. You can tell when someone's had a hard time and they're feeling broken because they're slumped over. They're not walking with confidence like this. Now, I'm not saying there's not a false confidence, but that's not what this video is about. So, it's just my hope that we're able to get conscious of this. For me, I had this fragmentation, and I had Reiki done on me, which was pushing, and I love when I get to do it, because when we learn something that helps, we pass it on, And as I work on people, I push that trauma away from the spine. It's just like pushing it away, balancing it, nurturing it, to where we can feel comfortable, because we're not comfortable when our central nervous system is on high alert. We're jumpy, right? We're ready to be jumpy. And so that tells you your central nervous system is on high alert. It's in survival mode. It's in fear. We all want to not feel fear, but sometimes we choose self-sabotaging acts to try to not feel fear. And if we can get in our body, our mind, and our soul through the breath, we'll realize right now we're okay. So you'll respond rather than react. Sometimes we do tapping to de-escalate those uncomfortable feelings, to speak to those feelings and validate them. Feelings aren't facts, but they deserve to be validated, because sometimes these refelt feelings need an escape, and we keep pushing them down, and they don't get to really be processed and be able to leave comfortably, right? So that's what we want, is we can't get comfort from discomfort. We have to process it and not shove them down and mask them with those false esteems. So it's my hope that you can take a look at your journey to yourself, your cells, and your soul, is they're all united and combined together, right? Your central nervous system feeds those cells. With that lack of oxygen, that's how the cells get starved. That's how they get hungry. That's how the cells get, they really want oxygen, not food, not drugs, not alcohol, not cigarettes. They really want oxygen. And sometimes self-sabotaging is giving them the opposite of what they really want. Your mind really needs oxygen to be able to plan, not strategic plan all the time. I'm not saying strategic planning isn't necessary in some times, but we don't need to get our central nervous system all activated. When I taught martial arts, we learned to breathe in that too, so that we would be able to see what's really happening instead of trying to, be on high alert, to be anticipating the things. It's just like we want to watch what's really happening, or else we're scattered and all over the place, fragmented. Okay? So we just want to respect each other's souls. No matter where you're at, what kind of relationship you're in, or what's going on in the world right now, is just respecting your soul. Because when you respect your soul, you respect another's soul. We don't want to be bullying and punishing adults, but I have a video on that if you want to watch that. Anyway, I hope that this has been helpful. I'm trying to be mindful of your time. If this was helpful, I hope you'll share it with somebody else. That we've all been fragmented, usually in some type of way, whether it's, you're growing up, whether it's a relationship as you're older, whether it could be work, whatever fragmentation. Being able to heal that within yourself and think possibly, let's just, for the sake of it, just take a few breaths together and get in alignment with ourself, ourselves, and our soul. So take a deep breath in. Hold it. And release gently and slowly through your mouth. All the stress, all the negativity. And breathe in. Hold it. in. Hold it. And release. That breathing will quiet and slow down yourself, your cells, and your soul and your mind so that you can think clearly and more positively. So I hope you'll please like and subscribe and share if you feel it's going to help somebody. But most of all, have a magnificent Monday and a wonderful week. Thanks so much. Bye.